And here we have RX-78-2 Perfect Grade Unleashed, finally in his complete form with all the shielding. So this is the phase 4 for this build, and in case you forgot what the phases were, here's the picture on the box. So we're right here. Phase 5 is actually all the weapons, so we'll put all the weapons together and show you that, but I wanted to show you this first, and then we'll go over the weapons. It does include applying the decals and the stickers. I haven't applied the stickers here. That's just a whole nother set of time that I don't have. I will do it eventually, but right now we're just going to stick with what we got here, and we'll come back maybe later. I'll do some images of his fully complete with the stickers. But here is the phase 4 of this robot. Absolutely incredible. Let's do a quick 360. The detail is really incredible. So all of that metal we were seeing, it's not even metal, it's really metal colored stuff, is now underneath. So it kind of creates accents and highlights all throughout. So for example, you'll see there's little silver accents and highlights on him. Here, here, here. So all that stuff kind of shows through in this mode. I think that's a really genius way of doing this. And the hand, same thing. They have that metallic plastic underneath. All that metallic plastic shows through. Here's the fingerprints. Here's the what looks like metal, but it's really just chrome plastic on the back of the knees. Really beautiful backpack. I mean, every detail on this, everything is detailed. There's nothing that's left undetailed. So the first thing that I would show you is the panels. So there are lots of different panels that open up. That's not new to the Perfect Grade line. They've always had those exposed panels where you can open it up and show the inside. So let's kind of get all the stuff. Well, actually, you know what? Let's start from the top and work our way down. All of the panels open up, have something to see behind them, like a metal truss or a frame or something just interesting to look at. It really is quite amazing. I know they've done this on prior Perfect Grades, but I think this is like the best version of opening panels they've done. And we'll just go down here so you can see these panels, and on the legs. And these ones, they expose that internal metal behind the knee, the truss there. Oh, I forgot the foot. There's a panel on the foot too, so there's that opening panel. Just very, very impressive. And there's the backpack, and this backpack has some nice detail in there. You kind of expose it when you open up these panels here. All right, now let's go over his articulation. I'll bring him a little bit closer so you can kind of see what's going on. So the head, and then not including the articulation is all the opening panels and stuff. We already looked at that. So the head goes up to there, down to there, and rotates all the way around. It also gets the side-to-side movement, and then the neck itself moves back and forth as well. So you can have the neck down, and then you can put the head down. So he gets quite a bit of articulation. And it really looks nice with those silver pistons underneath his head there. There is a light up feature. I'll show that after this. So his shoulders are on butterfly joints that come all the way out to there, which is really impressive. It folds in that way and out that way. And then you can open up this panel here. A little bit hard to get to, but if you open up that panel, you can fold his shoulder upwards as well. So he's got that upward shoulder movement, inwards, outwards, every direction you could possibly want, so you can get all that movement. And it covers down to close up and hide, which is nice. These do move out of the way. You don't have to move them out of the way because this shoulder can go outwards like that. And you can keep it covered if you need to. I just wanted to show you the movement there. Rotation at the bicep. Double jointed elbow with some automorphing stuff going on back here. Very, very, very impressive. Here, I'll show you the back view. So there's the automorphing. There's a hidden panel here, and that's a magnet. The purpose of that is to attach the shield. So the shield attaches by magnet to here, and we will show the shield when we get to phase 5. But nice little feature right there. And continuing downwards, you have two moves at the wrist. You've got this inner joint here. So this one moves on its own, up and down, and then this wrist is on a ball joint, so you can get in, out, and then there's another joint inside the hand that allows you to go all the way like this. If you go too far, it'll come off the ball peg, but that's okay. We do have replacement hands, which again are in phase 5, but really nice hands. They are not articulated fingers, which is, I didn't realize that when I got this set. I thought they were articulated fingers, but they aren't articulated. But they look nice, and they move quite a bit. All right, moving downwards, you do have a rotation at the waist, a little bit limited or hindered because of all the armor that's kind of in the way. You could probably get a little bit more. I don't want to push it too far. This waist does separate somewhat almost too easily. You know, if you just pull up on this, it just kind of separates. Here is the core inside the core fighter. This is not the actual core fighter. There's a separate piece, but it is the core. It's got a pilot in here. If you open this, there's more articulation on this, and then his little heads-up display has its own articulation. This guy does come out, but he's kind of a pain to get out and in, so I'm going to leave him in there. But he does come out. He's a little figurine that he comes with. Now that we have the chest removed, I can show you how the light up feature works. You're going to come to the back here. Might as well just take these off because they're going to fall off, because we're going to take off this backpack here. It just comes off like that. Then go ahead and take off this panel right here. Unfortunately, you do have to take this off in order to get to the light up feature. And I would actually recommend you take the head off as well, because if you drop this, you are going to end up breaking those the horns there. I forgot the official name for it. All my Gundam fans are going to make fun of me. All right, you take off this panel here, and then that'll allow you to access the neck. So you're going to pull the neck off. Here's that neck unit. And then in there is this electronics. So this electronics, you open it up here with the screwdriver, and you put in LR41s. That's the type of battery it takes. And you'll see there's a button there. And then there's two lights, one here and one here. And so let's put that back in. I already put the batteries in. I just wanted to show you that. Fits in like that. And then you put that in here. Put that panel back on. Put your backpack back on. And we'll put the head back on. And now, to show you the light up feature, I'm going to turn off some lights so you can kind of see how the light up feature works. You can actually already see it's already lit up because I must have hit the button. But there you go, there's the green, and as you pull out on this chest piece, it'll light up different colors. So there's purple. There, I've turned it off. If you leave it out, it turns off all the way. So that's how you turn it off. You pull it out and pull it back in, then you get the different colors. So there's blue. There's the magenta or purplish. Actually, sorry, this is the color changing one. So it's cycling between different colors. This is a sequence. You've got the red inside the chest. By the way, these fins are posable. You can move them around. They're just very hard to deal with because they're so small. But you can use maybe a spudger to kind of get them moved, but they do pose and articulate. Forgot that. Another feature that it has is kind of, I didn't realize this earlier, but there's a third hilt that it comes with, and this hilt actually lights up, and we'll take a look at this when we get to the weapons at the end. But you basically stick this here and you turn that on, and you'll see that these rocket boosters light up, which is a really cool feature. Continuing downward, you do have ab crunch here, so there is panels down here at the bottom that give you a little bit of side to side. Up here, there's also articulation right here, so you can get a crunch forward and back. You can get a crunch down here as well. It is a little bit hindered because of all the armor that he has now. Before he had just the exoskeleton, it did articulate a little bit more, but plenty of movement there. You have the hip skirts here that fold up to there on a hinge. They also have a ball joint that allows you to go in and out this way and also up and down this way. And if we leave those up, this outer one works the same way. The leg goes up to there. It's a little bit hindered by its armor. It doesn't have the typical drop-down joint that we see on some of the Gundams. So you're a little bit hindered in the forward motion there, but it's okay. And then you get a double jointed knee that gets you that sort of automorphing look where panels and pieces kind of move on their own. And you get that exposure of what's underneath, the internals, which is really one of the most impressive parts of this figure, is you get to see the inner workings and details underneath. These pistons are really cool. That's probably one of the coolest joints on this entire figure is those leg joints, I would say. Probably the highlight. Continuing downwards, you do have the foot, which can fold back to here. You do have this ankle cover or ankle guard that will go up and down. The foot rotates at this panel here. It can go back to there, forward to there, and it has a toe tilt right here. It has a heel tilt right there. And then obviously it goes out to the side. It doesn't go too far, but good enough for a big figure like this. And then moving to the back, yes, you have articulation on the back. You have these rockets or the boosters that go up and down. They automorph this little panel here, so when you push it down, you can just put that panel back down. There is articulation here on the hilts for the swords, but unfortunately these are a little bit on the loose side. Could probably stand to have some floor polish on there just to make it a little bit tighter. There is a gimmick here where you open up this, you flip around this, and that is for storage of the shield. We'll leave that out like that, so later when we look at all the weapons and the shield, I can show you how that fits on his back, but we'll leave that out there. Now we're going to take a look at all of the Phase 5, which are the accessories, and the first one is the hands. So they all look pretty much the same. They've got that metal look underneath and then a plastic covering. Unfortunately, the gripping hands have to be taken apart in order to put weapons in them. So here's just an example where you take this apart and you put the weapon in, it pegs in, and then you close this up. And I don't really love that, but unfortunately that's the way this works. It does come with this hilt here while we have this open, and there's a little tiny little peg right there, and that peg fits in that hand. It doesn't secure all that well, but this also has a gimmick, so let's show that off. So you go ahead and put the hand back around it, and you can see that lights up. So if we put the actual beam in the beam saber, you can see this beam lights up. It does have that, kind of stronger on the bottom, and then it dissipates, but it really looks good. That's such a cool feature. I don't remember ever having anything like this. The battery in here is very unique. I've never seen a battery. It's a Panasonic battery, but really cool looking. They gave you the battery, which is nice. They didn't give you the battery for the chest, but they gave you the battery for this, which is cool. So you can't take off this fisted hand and put this in here. And just to show you the lighted gimmick, there he is with the lighted up saber. Looks beautiful. I love it. Right, continuing on with the hands, we do have some other hands here. I already showed you the fist style. They don't do anything, that they're the stock hands. You have a trigger hand here. So this is really for the gun. So again, unfortunately, you have to take it apart to put the gun in. And while we have this apart, might as well show you. Here is the hand. So this is the other hand. This is the right hand. I've already taken it apart. And there is a trigger finger that goes around the trigger. And what's even crazier is you can move the trigger. There's a little gimmick here to move the trigger. So you turn this knob, and that in turn moves the trigger, which is really crazy attention to detail. While we're here, let's take a look at this gun. It's sort of a darkish blue. I mean, it matches his armor on his hands, but bluish, blackish plastic. You've got pretty good details on here. I mean, really impressive. You can't open this up, I guess, to reload it, but there's a polished silver plastic here. This is all plastic. It looks like some die cast in there, but it's not. You have articulation here on the gun, so this piece goes around, this piece rotates. You can take this apart if you wanted to. It is keyed, so that you can only get it back together one way, which I like because that makes it stay together and be more solid. You have articulation here as well for the ammo clip, or whatever you want to call this. Maybe it's a handle so you can hold this. I had a hard time getting him to pose and hold this gun by this handle. It's a little hard to get his hand around it, but you can do it. So let's take this hand out. We'll set that aside. And there he is with his blaster. Really good looking blaster. Alright, so let's move on to the other hands. There's a few more. So you do have these open, expressive hands. They look really nice. You can get those into here. He looks good with those. They didn't give him a joint upward, so you can't do the stop pose, but you can just get him into some reaching poses or whatever you like with those hands. You do get an extra beam saber piece here in case you break it, or if you want to have him holding dual wielding. You do get some figurines. Let me just show these up close. So you get one girl, one guy. Again, I am not very familiar with this show. I assume they're pilots for this Gundam, and that's the character we saw sitting inside him. But really cool looking. They're unpainted, so I guess they imagine that you're going to paint these. I'm not going to paint these, but somebody will paint these. I think that's the intent there anyway. So you get those. I think it also shows scale, so if you put those pilots down there, you can see the scale. You do get this little thing, which is basically a battery tester, but it also allows you to, it's a little tool, basically, to open and pry things. So you can use this to pry open different panels and stuff like that. Right, now we'll talk about the shield. So the shield is pretty cool looking. It's got some nice detail and panel lining and stuff like that. It also has some features. So you can see there's a blast shield window there. And if you push up on this, it puts up this little block there. So it closes up that window. That's kind of a cool thing. I don't think I've seen that before. You do have this, oops, it's on a ball joint, so the ball joint can pop off, but it's a double hinge here, and then it's got a hinge here, and then it's got basically a magnet, and that magnet will attach to those metal pieces I showed you with the hidden panels. I'll just move them over. So remember earlier I showed you there's a hidden panel here that opens up to reveal that die cast piece, one of the only die cast pieces in the whole figure. Well, the purpose of that is to attach the shield. So you take that magnet, put that on there, and it attaches right there, which is a nice feature. I've always had issues with the RX-78 being able to hold that shield securely. So it's nice to have that magnet. And you can get this kind of folded up a little bit more compactly. And now he can hold it without even putting it in his hand. He also has the handle, so if you wanted to attach the handle, you can actually get the closing hand. I'm going to leave it because I don't want to bother. And it holds just fine with the non-gripping hand. So the other thing you can do with the shield is you can fold it flat like this, and this tab right there will go into his backpack, into that slot I showed you earlier. You can basically just stick that right into there. I recommend you push it all the way up so the backpack is lower on his back. But that pegs into there, and now he can carry the backpack on his back like so. So you can also do the same thing with the gun. So the gun here has a little tab that folds out. It is plastic, so just don't be too rough with it. But if we take off this backpack, You can store the gun right here. This does rotate away. It's just a little bit irritating to deal with. So you can rotate that slot away so it doesn't show like a hole in his back. But I don't really have an issue with this. I just left it that way. But that pegs in right there on his back. You can also take this gun and peg it right into the shield. I think you have to have it like this with the sight sitting on the outside. And then we can get this pegged in. And there he is with his backpack and his gun on his back. So you can store it all away. And the last piece on phase 5 is, of course, the core fighter ship. And here it is. Let's take this off. This is a display piece. I'll show you how to use that later. But here is the ship. It's got this translucent cockpit here. You can't open up this cockpit. You kind of have to, oops. And he is a little bit flimsy. Of all the pieces on this, everything is pretty solid and nice. This core fighter still feels flimsy. I've had multiple iterations of RX-78, and still, this doesn't seem like they can build a nice solid core fighter, but maybe it's just the design. But there it is. It opens up. You can see the pilot inside again. He's unpainted. I assume they want you to paint him. This has got some really nice detail on it. The wings do tend to flop around a little bit. They have a little point where they're supposed to stay, but they tend to flop around just a bit. There is a gun here. Again, you can use your prying piece here to get these open. But they've got missile pods, which is crazy. On this little tiny thing, you got those missile pods. But they both open up, and you can display those missiles, and he can fly around. He does have landing gear, believe it or not. Pull out the wings, and you're going to fold down on these to pull out the rear landing gear. And then for the front, there's a panel right here. You can just grab with your fingernail. And this thing is so tiny, it's hard to get at, but there you go. There's his landing gear. He does transform, so close up these missile pods. Go ahead and rotate his landing gear back in. Push the wings inwards. Fold them up into his body, and then go ahead and take this, push that into his back of the cockpit there. You're going to fold this down, just be gentle with it. It does have an automorphing feature, which is going to hide this tail fin there. So fold that down, and that's about as far as it goes because there is a little piece on the bottom of the ship. And there you go, there's your core. But you basically have those same two rocket boosters down here that you would peg in just like you had for the other core. I don't recommend doing that because these wings are so fragile. You can actually already see I do have some, maybe you can't see, but I do have some stress marks on the wings. So I highly recommend not using this as the core. I just leave that core in and have this as a separate display piece. To transform this back, you do have to do a little bit of help for it. So you want to hold this blue piece down, and that's going to allow it to push that tail piece up. Pull, and this is part of the problem. When you pull this front of the cockpit out, it does come apart. I might just glue that in there. I'm never planning to take this apart again, so I might just glue this back piece in there. Then go ahead and open up the wings, and you're back in the flight mode. He does come with an accessory right here, a little clear piece. And if you have any other Bandai stuff, you know this is for a display stand, so let's show you that. And there is the core fighter on the display stand. I actually think this looks the best of everything because you can have it flying. You know, you can get it on whatever pose. It doesn't come with these stands. You do have to buy the stand separately. So if you wanted a display like this, you'd have to buy this Bandai stand. It's not very expensive here in the United States. This costs $10. This figure, I didn't talk about the cost of the figure, but the figure costs about $265, I believe. Maybe it's $250 on American retail. I got this from Toy Dojo, my channel partner. Unfortunately, they're completely sold out of this figure. So if you did want this, you're going to have to find it elsewhere or wait till more stock comes available. He is probably sold out in lots of places, but I do think it is well worth that money. I believe they put in lots of features, lots of accessories, lots of detail. There isn't much for paint. They kind of expect you to paint, and that's the Gundam. That's sort of how they've done these figures. They expect that you're going to paint them. I'm not going to paint mine. I think it's fine. I think it looks great the way it is, and I really like it. I really enjoy this figure. Is it worth the $250? I don't know. It's a little steep price, but for those that collect and build perfect grades, you're probably used to those prices, so that's nothing, especially for the advanced features and the light up gimmick and all the extras you're getting with this guy. I probably won't do another one anytime soon, but I really loved the build process. It was very fun, very enjoyable, very rewarding to see the final product. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.